Welcome to the CGTantra community. How has the journey been for the Pankaj Kandpur of the heydays of Kuch Kuch Hota Hai to the Jodha till now?
Well, I don't know who the Pankaj Kandpur is. I know Pankaj Kandpur. It's been kind of extremely interesting, very fatiguing, exhausting actually. But if you ask me in a single sentence, I would, if I had to relive my life, I would do exactly the same things again. It's been really fruitful. The interesting thing is a lot of growth. There's a lot of, I don't mean growth necessarily only in terms of business point of view, but from a creative point of view, from knowledge. Every day I think I'm learning something new, which is the most fascinating thing about this business. And that's on one hand. On the other hand is from the early days when we started doing visual effects to today, it's heartening to note that directors, cameramen, technicians, producers have begun to respect what we do a little bit more than they used to. There's so many things that you can do which you can create on a computer from the safety of your office rather than stunts and so on, which used to be very dangerous, have become very simple. Even I can do some of them, so it's kind of a good time. So if I can show you the value that we really add to feature film or to any sort of storytelling, and if you appreciate that value, then I think it's wonderful. So
as a veteran, how do you place in the Indian VFX industry right now in the international arena compared to the kind of films that you're doing? There has been a lot of talk around that the rate of growth has been very steep. We are catching up, and so what is your take?
Rate of growth every year I think double the amount of work that we do from a business point of view as well. But
both in terms of quantity and quality.
I'm talking about both. I'm not talking about actually quality and quality too. However, we have a ways to go before you can really hold your head up and say, look, I think the work that we do is comparable with the rest of the world. In some parts of it, it's been the most complex stuff, the more complicated things that you try to do. I'm not sure if we have the adequate skills yet. So in some of the simpler middle-level stuff, I think we are as good as anybody in the business, and we're getting there. When it comes to very high-end stuff, you may need to work a little bit more. So it's important for all of us to get the right attitude in place. That's one part of it. Now let's say we get the attitude right. The second roadblock, if you like, to growth, faster growth. It should be faster. Or though the growth is double or triple every year from the previous year, you want it to be 100 times faster. You don't have patience to wait. But one of the factors that impact quality is budgets. Your scripts need to be written for visual effects. So far they're not. I mean, and irrespective of how many times we talk about there's been steep growths, and what you mentioned is year on year doubling and tripling the amount of work that you're doing, volume and quality, etc. But are you still getting scripts that are visual effects intensive? They're not. They're still, I'm not using the word traditional. There are some very interesting scripts that are going around these days and films that are being made, which are very different from the so-called formula films and the standard love story genres and so on. But you still don't have leverage of good script writers who can write for effects or effect stories or use effects dramatically to be able to communicate a story. So, but it will happen. It's a matter of time before it happens, and I'm waiting for that.
So in the same lines of stars and visual effects, how was it working with Amir?
Working with Amir is always a pleasure. He's one of the nicest people to work with. He is one of the few people who respects a technician immensely, which is a very heartening thing. He will listen to you carefully. He will not discount what you say. He contributes, it brings a lot of value to what you're doing, because he will never buy into anything unless he is completely convinced about it.
So the days of traditional visual effects of live action and now the CGI brought into it, where do you see the growth of the traditional visual effects being grown without the actual only CGI put into it? Do you think that we have enough scope over there, or how has it grown?
You don't. With digital technology coming in, it's time you figured that anything that you do manually or in camera, as we call it, there are a lot of tricksy-wixies that you still must do in camera, of course.
Right.
Like in my presentation, I spoke about this good old wire that was used to pull open a bag instead of doing it in CGI. You need to do a good mix, judicious mix of, sensible mix of some live action in camera effects and combine them with digital technology to be able to get better value for money.
Right.
And a better problem solving thing. But traditional in camera or optical, I'm assuming you mean like optical effects, I don't think they exist too much now at all. Because why would you go through all that trouble and pain and cost to do something in camera when you can easily do it on a computer? And lastly, doing anything optically is a destructive process, which means that you are going to destroy your film if you haven't got it right. So you have to do another output the next time you try and do it, and another one until you get it right. Plus, quality control in the labs are difficult. And so each time you go back to the original mother negative, you are actually degrading the quality of your image, which is unacceptable in today's world. So digital technology, I'm afraid, I'm happy, but I'm afraid for those in the optical part of the business, spells doom for them.
But do you see scope for engineers and technicians in the lines of AI or robotics or
Yes.
Because we have so many members who are from the engineering background and they're trying to find out the scope. So can you guide them, like what is the scope for?
In fact, ironically, we are as Tata and Elxsi, we are an engineering company. We are a software engineering company with over 3,000 engineers, and we are constantly exploring areas where we can use technology to better our art. And you know, it's really, when you're in the digital world, it is only about technology bettering your art. You know, most of us are not so talented, and I certainly am not. So I will use any trick in the book to use technology to help me. And I have no problems with that. I mean, I know there are artists who feel that it's tainting your art in some way. But I don't believe so. I think it's a tool that you use to your benefit and to your advantage, which is important. For example, mocap. Now mocap, a traditional 3D animator will scoff at it and say, how can you do this? Yeah, sure. Traditional hand-done animation, CGI, hand-done, keyframed, etc., is still the attitude and the character that you bring in by hand will be far superior to any mocap that you can even dare to think about. No question. Also, there are films, though I haven't seen it, it's very intriguing. Films like Beowulf, which are completely mocap, completely mocap CGI films, are very intriguing because it suddenly opens up a new realm of what you can do with digital technology and storytelling, the marriage of the two. I haven't seen Beowulf, so I can't comment on whether that worked or not, but look at where it's going, and that is kind of interesting. Robotics, another great area. I could combine robotics with digital technology in terms of computer graphics, and I could get somewhere else with it. In fact, with Doom 2 we used some sort of robotics in one of the sequences, but we can talk about that later. And it kind of worked, and then we had to do some kind of work on top of it to make it work better when we got the shots. But it was an interesting direction that we took it. Unfortunately, robotics is not a very advanced science here yet, but it will get there too. There are a lot of things that technology can do to actually speed up and take the grunt work out of it. Now, this is not a compromise, this is just pure logistics, automation. I mean, if you don't have technology, you're dead in the water, in my opinion. So, you need to actually, whatever can be, whatever is repetitive in nature must be automated. I would rather free up an artist to concentrate on his creative work rather than concentrating on the grunt work. That is critical to make this whole thing work. So I will use technology if and where and when I can, all the time.